You did well, my child.
Huh? Oh, yeah, thanks.
Sincerely, Tokumi, that was quite a show.
I've seen a lot of scraps in my day, a lot of styles of combat, but none quite as, shall we say, intriguing as the chaotic, whimsical tour.
It's because of you, though, right?
I
Played a role.
Shut up, bro. If you weren't holding me in the present, I would have started talking to a fucking caveman or a Viking or something.
Now, I don't know if I necessarily...
I'm not cool. Charlie said I was cool, but I'm like, weak. Dependent on you.
For now.
I couldn't even look at Jackson without seeing him... without him like...
Tokumi, for now.
You won't need me soon enough, my dear. You just need to continue to wait.
think of how much you've improved already. Keep sobering up.
I don't know.
Well, I do. It's my business to know
Things like this, trust me. We rushed the issue because they needed you, and you played your part
Beautifully.
I guess.
In time, a few more months,
You'll be just exactly like that without me hiding in the shadows to hold your mind in
place. And you'll be able to look at Jackson without remembering his
gruesome suicidal history.
Why didn't you block that part, dude?
I tried to.
even I have limitations.
Yeah.
Tokumi,
Huh?
are you alright, child? You're not normally so...
quiet.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just thinking.
About what?
I mean, you know, just like... them?
Charlie and Tyler.
Yeah. She apologized to me. Charlie, like, for not saving me, like a real one. A good one. The kind of apology you want sometimes, and I wasn't even looking for it. And Tyler, he was like singing with me, and then he called me Twinkles, and they thought I was like funny, and I haven't really had, like, it's been like a long time since...
You will see them again, Tokumi.
You sure? Do you, like, know that I'll see them again,
You
or...
will. I just told you.
It is my business to know things. I'm not
Supposed to say it. Things like this. At least not to you. I'm not supposed to.
Anyway, I don't care. This one I'll let slip. You'll see
See
them
them again. Trust me.
I do.
I'm overjoyed to hear it.
Most people don't.
You're my friend. Probably my only friend. Even though I don't even know your name.
Incidentally, I do have to leave you for quite a while now.
my dear.
Wait, really?
Unfortunately, yes.
Like how long?
A few months, I'm afraid.
The aftermath of all this cataclysm. I fear my unique skill set is needed to clean it up.
You might have to be lonely for a little while.
Child.
That's okay.
Seriously, just like that.
I've been lonely for as long as I can remember, dude. And I don't remember anything about my life before I was Beam's secret baby in a jar, but, today was the best day so far. Because people, like, cared about me. So if you say I'll see them again, Charlie and Tyler,
I promise it.
okay. I can take it. I can be lonely for a little while, if soon I won't be again.
Oh, my...
Beautiful child. If you only knew how not lonely
You soon will be.
Cool. Can't wait.
Incidentally, my dear, what is your favorite color?
Huh? My favorite color? I mean, purple, for sure. Wait, why?
Oh, I'll let you figure that part out on your own.
Previously on the Beam Chronicles. I'm one of 3 people this side of the universal membrane that knows how to write in High Jingaria.
3? Who are the 3?
Me, him, and Victor Kavorsky.
There was always more to Kavorsky than met the eye.
The Endako Prince. Shepard was on this very rock shortly before you and I were triggered. He's here in his Endako body.
I caught a flashing spurt of excitement dance through Mo's yellow orb-like eyes. I want you to get on a big fucking lit-up stage with every fucking camera in existence broadcasting it on every fucking channel across the planet. You telling the truth.
I'll publicly take the blame when we're done. You have my word.
The slender black switch I instantly recognized as the remote to my brain.
I want you to destroy it. I sincerely do not need it anymore.
Suppose I ungroup this and then I shoot you in the head.
You may try. My sabbatical, yes.
Why did you go? Can you answer that?
I forecasted something that I didn't like. I wanted to escape it.
Did the sabbatical throw us off course?
This one is proving to be particularly challenging to work around.
This is not the ending that I wanted for us, love.
But hell of a lot better than the one I expected, or shit, even the one we deserve.
These are the Beam Chronicles, with your host, MJ Dooney. Book 3, Cataclysm, Chapter 27, Charlie Shayde.
I'd like to tell you that 1 month later, we were back. That Sydney's big, snake-like yellow eyes just popped open one day a few weeks later, starving for chicken nuggets and canned pasta. Then a few days after that, while Sydney and I were sitting in Jackson's room in medical playing cards or shooting the shit, he just sat up and joined in, like nothing was ever wrong. No flicker of blue in his eye, no lasting side effects from the battle for either of them, back to normal, back to perfect. I'd like to tell you that I held Howie to the promise he made me, forced him to condemn himself and shoulder all the blame. I'd like to tell you that we bolted away as far from Beam as the 3 of us could get, happy, safe, free. I'd like to say all of that. I wish it was all true. But a month later, the only thing I'd managed to change was getting Sydney's bed moved into Jackson's room, so that way I could sit in my chair watching both of them at once. Waiting for something to change. Waiting for someone to get better. Protecting them from the devil. I didn't turn to look as the door slowly creaked open and the one-armed man stepped inside. He'd managed to get RT to construct him a pretty damn convincing prosthetic using the same technology Skeleton did in his fly suit. But he seemed to mistrust it still. Didn't even notice when he banged it against the doorway coming in, then left it hanging limp at his side, only ever using the left one, the real one. Maybe it was something he'd get used to.
Charlie, a word, please.
He sincerely, mildly requested. No, I flatly denied without looking at him. I already told you. First clause of my reluctant participation in your reborn agenda, I don't ever deal with you directly. Send in Mofoon or Phil.
Mo, Foon, and Phil are both predisposed. You know that. You sent them off.
It was true. I'd just momentarily forgotten. Phil was off searching for Kavorsky, to bring him into the fold of the new bureau. Kavorsky was brilliant, useful, but on top of that, knew things he had no earthly way of knowing. There were mysteries to him that we could potentially exploit. Maybe if he could write and read in High Jingari, he would have some ideas about how we could get Jackson's Dolrog into full control. Maybe, since he created him, Kavorsky could help pull Sydney out of his coma faster. Or maybe I wanted him as part of the equation because the more adversaries Howie had empowered, dividing up his attention, the easier it would be to eventually break away for good. The deranged superposition of Mo and Tyler, meanwhile, were also on a manhunt, though not technically for a man. Their search was also probably the more difficult one, as they were looking for Shepard, the Endako Prince. Mo expressed some excitement to me in the aftermath of our fight with Queztopo that someone from his realm was able to travel to our dimension without a Dolrog banishment. This was unprecedented, apparently, and the implications were pretty exciting once he explained them to me. Obviously, somewhere there was a bridge between our universes that Shepard had traversed to get here, and therefore, if we could locate that bridge, it would be possible to get Carlos, the only remaining being in existence who could shut away Queztopo permanently. It was a shot in the dark, a needle in a haystack, literally the size of the universe, but if Mo and Tyler could find Shepard, figure out how he got to our world, bring Carlos in the same way, Jackson could be safely restored. We still had no leads about Tokumi. No matter how impossible, it was worth it to try. Helping Jackson and Sid was our first priority. Hell, for now, it was my only priority. But it meant sending away the most trusted friends I had left. It meant sticking me with Prophet for his logistical bullshit. Could be worse, though. They were still alive. I always had to remind myself of that. You can't possibly be the best candidate. What about Rector, or Sparks, or Mathis?
In China, Brazil, and physical therapy, respectively. I know you detest me, Charlie, and I don't blame you, but unfortunately, I'm what you have. Unless, of course, you'd like me to send in Peter.
I shuddered at the thought. Or he could just politely fuck off for once and we could not do this at all. He nose-laughed, smiled softly like we were friends.
I know you're not in the mood. I'm sorry, but it's important. You need to play your part. The early stages of our global rebuilding process, Beam demonstrating a stable future. It's what the world needs.
More like what Howie needed. Because once he raked through the corpses of 1,000,006 innocents, the smoldering ashes of mankind were the perfect foundation for his new international empire. Nothing like widespread cataclysm and panic to set the stage for Beam takeover, for global martial law, for Prophet to get stronger all over again. And just like my whole life, I was helpless to do anything but help him. He had control over too many things that I needed. Put the damn papers over there. I gestured toward a random counter. I'll sign them when I feel like it, all right?
Very well, but I think your responsibilities may extend beyond signatures as the new head equalizer.
Are we really still calling them equalizers when there are barely anomalies anymore?
A misnomer, surely, but yes, for the sake of consistency.
Ah, of course. The all-important consistency. We wouldn't want to sacrifice the trust we've built up slaughtering innocent people all these years, now that we're the shadow militia of your budding little global fascist police state. We sat in awkward silence for a moment as he set the papers on the counter I designated, and I clicked my fingernails against my teeth, trying to quell the adrenaline flowing through me just by virtue of sharing breathing air with Prophet.
Peter thinks it'd be good for public morale if you made a few appearances.
Yeah, if you ever want me to ignore the rest of a sentence, start it with Peter thinks. I wondered if there'd ever be a disaster so widespread and influential it took Cranston out of commission for good. He was a puny little weasel, but he had an impressive tendency to survive and bounce back.
I know. You must admit, though, it's pretty unhealthy to be spending so much time in this room.
I leave sometimes. To bathe, exercise.
Well, not recently.
When Foon comes back to watch them, I'll get back to that routine. The fuck is it to you anyway?
You really think somebody needs to be with them at all times if we keep Jackson under the Ajax box?
Yeah, stow him in a coffin while he recovers. I'm all for that. Why wouldn't I be?
It will prevent any further destructive outbursts.
He doesn't have those when I'm in the room.
But if he's in the box, you won't have to be by his side at all times.
You think that's why I'm at his side at all times? I leered at him. You think I'm protecting you from him? It managed to shut him up, get him to awkwardly stuff his hands into his pockets, missing and fumbling with his uncomfortable false right one, then stare at the ground. I kept pelting him with guilt. History indicated his susceptibility to it was surely temporary, so I wanted to milk it. I'm not gonna leave him here alone. Go wave at terrified, subservient idiots overseas so they feel better about themselves while you take them over, and meanwhile, allow you access to start doing whatever experiments on him that pop into your sick little fucking head.
I got it.
He sighed, rubbing a palm across his eyes and puffing out his cheeks. Obviously, he had some stupid idea in his head how this conversation would go, and obviously I wasn't adhering to it. He cleared his throat, scratched the back of his neck before he continued, softly, submissively.
Incidentally, your trust of me, or, well, lack thereof, I suppose. It brings me to another point. I made you a promise a month ago at Tyler's cell to convince you to help me. Do you recall?
Yep.
I will gladly, if you would like to hold me to it, I will gladly maintain that promise. Say the word, Charlie. I'll get in front of every camera I can find, declare my fault, accept the blame.
I scoffed. His dramatic, swashbuckling declaration of honor and dignity was flimsy, false, insincere. I saw right through it. He knew damn well I couldn't request it. If Howie took the blame now, In the aftermath of Queztopo's downfall, when the entire world was leaning on him for support, it would launch humanity into bedlam, anarchy, a chaos it wouldn't survive. And normally I wouldn't care much about that because I'd long ago removed myself from the category of humanity anyway. But it would also crumble Beam. And sick as it made me feel, I needed Beam right now. Without their technology, their facilities, their people, their resources, I wouldn't be able to keep Jackson and Sydney alive. Without their consummate ability to keep the most dastardly secrets, without Peter's repulsive if artisan manipulation of the people's hearts, the world would know that Jackson survived the battle. And since everyone lost someone to Queztopo and everyone blamed Jackson, they'd get angry, vengeful, confused, as soon as they discovered he was alive, and I'd spend all my time fighting off mobs. Without Beam's power, their ubiquity, their influence in all sectors of the globe, I'd never find Kavorsky, or Shepard, or Tokami. I'd never fix Jackson and Sydney. I needed Beam to get my life back. So for just a little while longer, I'd let the monster breathe. Hell, I'd feed it, sustain it, help it to grow, stoke the fires in its belly, let it rise to the occasion, dominate the world. I'd be the adored figurehead of their sneaky global takeover. I'd sign anything the one-armed devil put in front of me. A strong Beam meant a recovery for my family, and for now, that's the only thing I wanted. I'd keep Beam alive while we licked our wounds and recovered, but once we finally reached full strength again, we'd promptly burn it to cinders. Can I ask you a question, Prophet?
Well, you never actually answered mine, but certainly. Anything, Charlie.
It was something that had been eating away at me for months, but took a backseat to specific recent events. Now might have been my only opportunity to know for certain while we were on standby and he was willing to talk. You know all that power you lost? All your little manipulative chips that you held over us all those years, Kavorsky and the failsafe and forecasts, whatever the hell you used to be able to do to Jackson?
Yes.
He somberly replied, maybe knowing where I was going. All the time I spent alone, up in that cabin, waiting for our deal to expire because I was afraid of what you could do to the people I cared about. When did you lose it? For how long were you the powerless weak Howie that you are now? When specifically did it all go away? When specifically could I have stood up to you and won? How much of that wasted time was wasted for no reason at all? He let out a sputtering sigh, sinking into a stool, burying his face in his real hand while the prosthetic dangled awkwardly. He mumbled the answers, too ashamed or afraid to look at me as he spoke, barely clear enough for me to hear.
I'll start with the easy ones, the ones you don't really care about. Kavorsky broke out about a year after you left. He released Shepard in the failsafe on his way out the door.
The failsafe isn't a baby anymore. It was a look that had been exchanged between him and me 1,000 times in our lengthy battle against each other, but this may have been the first time he was the one giving it. A face of sheer, befuddled shock, wondering how on earth I knew what I knew.
You've seen her. Was she well?
Like he fucking cared. I ignored him. How did he get out? Kavorsky, how could you just let him go?
I don't know. He must have had help, but I don't know who. Quite frankly, I was preoccupied with a few bigger things. He took advantage of that and slipped to my mind, then right through my fingertips.
And what were you preoccupied with?
To be blunt, mostly Jackson killing himself.
A frigid lightning bolt jerked through me. I'd almost forgotten all about that part of my love story. The part where my absence made Jackson a drunk, suicidal wreck. How he kept going.
I couldn't get him to stop. I couldn't get him to give up the idea that I'd eventually just let him die. The day Kavorsky led his mass oubliette breakout, I was trying this old trick, I suppose. Something to stimulate a forecast, something I'd done years ago to force them to happen when they weren't coming. And it didn't work. It hadn't worked in ages, but to make matters all the worse, while I was trying to see how to save Jackson from his own psychotic head, I lost the only thing I had to do just that. The day he pulled his eye out, your birthday. It was the last time he killed himself, because 1 week later, the failsafe was gone. If he'd done it again, Charlie, one more time, he would have been lost forever. I couldn't have saved him again. I had no power. That's why Caraway came back. That's how she knew he needed her. I told her. I told her everything, that he was completely wasted all of the time, that he wouldn't stop ending himself, that I'd lost the only thing that could continuously yank him back. I asked her to insert herself into his life, to save it, to play off his guilty conscience and his loneliness. I asked her to pretend she loved him again so he would...
What about the rest? I interrupted him because remembering that once upon a time Jackson married someone else was a swirling, furious pit of jealousy standing on top of my chest that I simply couldn't deal with right now. Especially if the entire thing was orchestrated by Howie from the get-go. Forecasts, Jackson's containment, whatever the hell you claim to have over me the day you convinced me to fake my death. Where did all that go?
I already told you. I lost the forecast about a month before I became president. Maybe September, late September, I don't know specifically.
And the rest of it? I pried, since clearly he was intentionally avoiding this particular answer. He took a deep, steadying breath and looked up at me. I'd like to say there was some detectable emotion in his face, sadness, fear, regret, even sick pleasure, but it was blank. Nothing. Maybe that was what he required to say what he was about to say. Maybe he thought I'd mirror him, stay level as well.
Do you remember the day Foon killed you? You fought him in the streets of the capital, and I disabled your brain temporarily, let him shock you so we could talk. You remember that?
I glanced down at the zigzagging scars running across my forearm, balled up my fist, gritted my teeth, and nodded. Couldn't very well forget the day I died.
Well, as much as you may have disliked that particular move, Destiny detested it. Actually, Destiny and I weren't exactly seeing eye to eye at the time, if I'm being perfectly frank. Perhaps you recall I took a hiatus from Beam around then, in an attempt to avoid a forecast. Well, that seemed to piss it off, whatever granted me my powers, and it kept leaving me little gaps, warnings, telling me to tread lightly and get back in line. That day in my office when Jackson could use his telekinesis on me, then later at his birthday party when I forecasted the incorrect window for Leper's assault. Those were all intended to be warnings, but I missed them. More appropriately, more honestly, I probably ignored them, and when I let Foon kill you, whom I was forecasted to protect, even if I'd always intended for it to be a temporary death, that was the last straw, I guess. Whatever gave me my power punished me for betraying them. I tried my damnedest after that to crawl back into their good graces, to make them, whoever, whatever, realize that I was sorry. I revived you on the spot. I tried to make nice with you, to answer all of your questions that I could, recover you, undo it, bring everything back to the way it was before I fucked it up. But it didn't work. Their punishment stuck. What I lost for trying to resist the forecast, just for temporarily killing you. I never got it back.
Jackson's containment. My voice was bone-chillingly flat, eerily calm, because as I considered the implication, I frankly didn't even know what emotion deserved to be instilled in it. That's what they took. That was your punishment. The day Foon killed me, you lost your containment of Jackson. He just nodded. No, that was impossible. It all came crashing down on me, unraveling. Every thread I pulled revealed another layer of queasy deception. I had to articulate it, because keeping it bottled up in my head was making me want to puke. So that day, in my apartment, when you told me if I didn't fake my death, you'd kill them all,
A lie.
he somberly admitted.
A bluff. I couldn't. I had no power over Jackson at that point. No power over you, quite frankly.
But you let me destroy Kevorski's switch to my brain, I anxiously argued, refusing to admit it was all a charade I'd believed entirely, sacrificed everything for. The switch, to shut me down. You told me you didn't need it, that you had something better. Why would you do that if you didn't have something better? Why not just keep it, just to have me on lock, even without control over Jackson?
Having you on lock was useless to me without control over Jackson.
He softly explained, hanging his head.
If I shut you off for any extended period of time, he'd find me. He'd realize my power over him had faded, just like he did that day when I threw him out of the window. He'd kill me. The only value that switch still had was to substantiate my bluff, and in a sense, I did have something better, Charlie. I always did. I knew you'd never defy me if I held the rest of them over the fire. I knew you'd follow my rules, do as I said. If I told you the alternative was pain for everyone else, you were always so cautious, too averse to risk with them. Even if I lied about it, you wouldn't call me out.
No. No, I couldn't believe any of it. I refused. The dream, everything we were gunning for, the beautiful, perfect life at the end of the long journey, free from Howie or Beam or any of it, out from under their thumb, we were there. Perfect bliss, an end to the bullshit, we were already there. 2 years ago. We just didn't notice it. And then I bought into his deceit. I ran away, I left, and I gave it all up to save them when they didn't need saving. For our freedom when we already were free. It was too horrible to be real. Satan, the greatest liar in the world, bluffed me into sacrificing true happiness and the love of my life in exchange for something we already had. Nothing. That was the collateral he had over us the last 2 years. That was the power he had over me from the moment I demolished that switch. That was what I was too afraid to stand up to. Nothing. But the cruelest joke in my meaningless history ran deeper than that. Because it was true. The consequences I was so afraid of weren't even there. If at any point over the last 2 years I tried to do something reckless, nothing would have happened. If I had busted into the middle of that wedding and told Jackson my soul couldn't bear it, which trust me, I almost did, nothing would have happened. If I had answered one of the 796 phone calls keeping my pulse running on my birthday, nothing would have happened. If I would have thrust my arms out the very first day when Howie told me I had to run, welcomed his most vile retribution, hanged whatever he had as recompense, I would have stood there in my apartment with my arms sprawled apart, waiting for nothing to happen. Nothing. And then Jackson would have realized it. He would have discovered that he was uncontained. He would have realized the contract he made with the devil ran out. Jackson would have found that after years of oppression, he held all the cards. He was in control. He had the power. Jackson would have killed Howard Prophet, and I wouldn't have denied him the honor, thus triggering the apocalypse resting peacefully in his head. What if Howie's bluff gave the world 2 extra years before Queztopo? And in those 2 years, maybe Tyler Foon found his tranquility, forgave me, allowed himself the ability to empathize so that his Dolrog could pass over to Mo. Maybe Sydney and I grew stronger, to the point where one of our battles with Queztopo in which we survived would have instead ended in crippling defeat. Tyler wouldn't have even been moved yet. He still would be sitting in his old cell, right where Jackson knew he was, and then Queztopo would have had his target located and destroyed in seconds. No Mo. Tokami too. A quick demolition of the oubliette, and the helpless baby she was would have been eliminated. After that, God only knew. Howie's bluff gave the world 2 extra years, and without them, it wouldn't have survived another day. So in totality, I sacrificed true happiness for 2 extra years of preparation so that the man I hated the most could stop the man I loved the most from ending the universe. And how did this feel so much worse than when I did it for nothing? But if I couldn't laugh at that. He tried to ask what was so funny, but got stuck at my name. I told him anyway. You know, Jackson said something to me the first time we talked again. He said, "This isn't the ending that I wanted." And I told him hell of a lot better than what we deserved. Howie smiled, a distant, weak smile. I kept going. But now we're talking, right? This one's better. This is the right one. Jackson destroyed the world. Sydney basically died trying to stop him. Bean wins. You get stronger. They sleep forever. And me? I get to sit here with you of all people, waiting and hoping that they wake up when they won't. I know they won't. And here we are. We finally got it. Everything to shit. The ending we deserve. He emphatically denied me.
No, this is not it. This is the ending that I deserve, Charlie. Jackson and Sydney and you. Especially you. You deserve much, much better than this. I can't even begin to come up with...
He pressed his chin to his chest, spun away, unable to look at them any longer, slamming the top of his head against the nearest wall. Remorse, pity, these weren't feelings I had associated with profit in a lifetime. I wouldn't start now, but he had me on the cusp. Because maybe even the devil knew when he made such a colossal sequence of mistakes. Maybe he'd finally seen his reflection, realized the man he'd become, didn't like who was looking back. It was galaxies away from redemption. Maybe the right first step.
This is not the end. Do you hear me? I'll make damn well sure of that. They will wake up. You will fight on. I owe it to you, the three of you, and Murphy and Maria. I owe all of you at least that much. There is still more story to tell, eons of story left, and when it's done, you'll get the ending you want and deserve because they are one and the same, Charlie. They are one and the same. Do not give up on me just yet. I may be significantly weaker than I once was, but so long as I have a single ounce of power left within me, I will exhaust it to get you three to that ending.
And he stormed to the door, probably to deprive me of the opportunity to forgive him, even though I'm sure he knew I never would. Before he could leave, I called to him with one final question. What was the forecast? He stopped in the doorway. The forecast you were hiding from, the one that cost you all your power, kickstarted all of this, the one that motivated your hiatus 3 years ago. What was it? Was it worth it? He sighed yet again, rubbing the corners of his mouth.
I suppose I can probably tell you now the window for it has already passed, and it didn't come true. I apparently have successfully skated around it for once, thanks to, what I did to you.
What was it? I asked again, not angrily or impatiently, just the same as I had before.
I foresaw that Ava would kill me. On its 7th birthday, Ava would kill me. That's why I was trying so hard to break it, to swing Sydney to my side, to hide from the three of you. That's why I banished you for 2 years, so that when the 7th birthday of Ava came and went, you would all be in disarray, too incapacitated and separated and preoccupied with yourselves to bother with me. It was all to save my own pathetic life.
Ava. My heart stopped beating.
I'm sorry.
I shook my head out of its sudden daze. Nothing. Never mind. I let him leave after that because something in the deep recesses of my head suddenly took over my attention. One of those things I tried not to think about until I absolutely had to. One of those things I suppressed, but now that I'd remembered it, it drained all of the blood from my face and turned my breath cold. I knew as soon as Mo Foon came back to watch over Sid and JT, I had somewhere to go, something to check up on. Someone to visit. Someone important. But that could be weeks from now. I'd worry about it then. I crawled back into bed with Jackson, and I rested my head on his chest, wrapping my arm over him and closing my eyes. I pretended we were in my apartment, that he was totally himself, in control, just asleep. That Queztopo never existed, that Sydney was sleeping over across the room where I could fix him because we were having an Ava sleepover, or he passed out on the couch. It was fake, but I could deal with fake. Faking together beat real and apart. I was still so hopeful, so eagerly anticipating the day when we got back to where we were 2 years ago without realizing it. For now, this was all I wanted. Comfortably resting in a room with my boys, sixing them laying there with me, breathing, living. You'd think it'd be hard sitting around with Jackson and Sydney fighting for their lives, but the fact that I was with them made it one entire hell better than being alone, and trust me, I knew. I'd already been through that hell. It was only a break from the insanity, from the bullshit, from the fighting. I'd get back to it soon, too soon. Eventually I'd get up, do things I hated. Eventually I'd fight some more. All I did was fight because I was kind of good at it, and fuck, I didn't even mind doing it for the people I love the most. But right now, I just wanted a minute to rest with them.
Thank you for listening to The Beam Chronicles, a fiction podcast written and produced by me, MJ Dooney. Social media, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter. Rate me on Spotify and or Apple Podcasts. 104 ratings on Spotify, actually. We blew right past 100. That's amazing. Thank you. Sincerely. Email me, beamchronicles@gmail.com, or Spotify comments have been pretty lively lately. Thank you for those as well. Also, I forgot to mention a while ago that we surpassed 25K total downloads recently, which is a pretty significant sounding number, I guess. You can also send me money on Buy Me a Coffee by clicking support the show in the episode description. Also, all of the stuff that I said last week about Buy Me a Coffee, I think I might actually just be switching over to Patreon soon. A few people told me that I'm the only person who doesn't use Patreon, but I low-key thought I wasn't cool enough for Patreon. Like, I'm not even joking. I thought they required, like, fame to use. But anyway, I actually do like the platform better. Not only does it let me do a free membership tier so I can just post messages to like keep people posted on like what's going on over the summer and stuff, I think everyone just knows Patreon better anyway. It's a much better option, not only for just staying connected with people in a way that like other social media really doesn't do, but it's a great place to put bonus content that I was talking about the last couple of weeks with like prequels and stuff like that. Here's the problem. I am smooth brained, raw chicken breast. I spent like 30 minutes today trying to figure out how to get my episodes up there before I click the publish button. Can't figure it out. I have no idea how technology works. I literally don't even understand what a podcast actually is. I found out. It's a miracle. This whole thing is a miracle. Like the fact that I've gotten through 83 episodes, it's literally just because I click a little button and then it just pops up on Spotify. And I don't know. I'm going to ask my wife tomorrow morning. She's much better than this than I am. But I think when it's done, it's going to be patreon.com/thebeamchronicles. I might switch the support the show link in the episode description so that it goes there instead of to buy me a coffee. But there's literally only one more episode for this season. And then I'm going to disappear for a couple of months, at least as far as like the actual posting of episodes goes. So who knows how this is going to go. Okay. All music and sound effects were sourced from the Epidemic Sound Library. Special thanks to Janet Chasha for creating the cover art for the show. Find her on Instagram @ChiliBeanArt. And thanks again for listening.